For some people that say, well, you know, we don't really know design, and we'd never know it if we saw it anyway. Well, listen. Do you know what SETI is? SETI, S-E-T-I, which is the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. The government invests millions in the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. So basically they have these huge microphones that point out to the sky. And what are they waiting for? They're waiting for a signal, some kind of signal, whether it's an actual audible signal that would come through or some kind of a message that was being sent, the equivalent of Morse code, whether it's some kind of a binary signal or something like that. And they'll know when they see a message that's different than just the static that's being produced by the various bodies out in the cosmos. They will know. They'll say, ah, here's a message. It said help. You know, I'm stuck on Mars or whatever. They'll know. They will recognize design in that message. So don't let anybody snowball you and say, we don't know design when we see it. No, 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 no. They do know. There's a very popular television show, I'm told right now. I'm not a television watcher at all. I believe that life is too short to watch television. I believe that there's no point in watching other people live. I'd rather just live myself. So anyway, I have no time for television. But a good friend of mine tells me that there's a popular television show right now called CSI, and Crime Scene Investigation or something like this. Well, that whole show is based on what is called the science of forensics. Now, what do these people do? They go to a crime scene, and what are they trying to detect? Design. They're trying to determine whether or not this person really slipped and fell on the knife, or if somebody stabbed them with the knife. Well, how do they do that? They go through a series of criterion by which they determine, through complexity, through the odds of a certain thing happening, et cetera, et cetera. They have all their criteria, and then they will say, nope, it really was an accident, or we think there's foul play here. So don't try to snowball me and say, well, we don't know what design is. We can't detect design. Oh, yes, we can detect design, and CSI is proof positive of that. So design necessitates a designer. This is very easy to see in things like cars, for example. The steering wheel, except for maybe some brands of American car, but we can't get into that because we live in Michigan. But most cars exhibit the qualities of design, particularly Japanese cars and German cars. But I'd better be careful what I'm saying here. You have a steering wheel, you have pedals, you have doors, and these things are all designed for a purpose. You recognize that, and it works usually quite well. The universe exhibits the qualities of design both at the macro level and at the micro level. Okay? That is to say, at the universal level as well as the microbiological level. And if you're interested in some of that, you can look into books by William Dembski. Brilliant, brilliant. Perhaps the chief proponent today of intelligent design. Or you can look into books by, say, Michael Behe, which he's looking at it more from a microbiological perspective. So therefore, the universe has a designer, and that designer we call God. Okay? Very easy to understand. Number 4, the case from a life-permitting universe. Now, this is powerful stuff here. This is what is known as the anthropic principle, and of course, anthropos comes from mankind. Here's what we know for certain. Again, these are things that you're not stepping out onto scientific thin ice to assert these things. Okay? Number 1, modern cosmology has identified not less than 40 measurable characteristics of the universe. Okay? Pretend like the universe is this table. Modern cosmology can measure the universe. There are characteristics that the universe exhibits that can be measured in the same way that this table exhibits things that can be measured. We could measure its weight. We could measure its height. We could measure the structure. We could measure this distance, this distance. We could measure the density and the mass of what it's being made of. We could measure this thing, and we could say there are 45 or 50 measurable characteristics of the table. The universe is the same way. There are things like the gravitational force constant, the nuclear force constant, the polarity of the water molecule. Okay? Depending on how you subdivide them, there are approximately 40 measurable characteristics of the known universe. Now, here's the important point. Each of these characteristics are fine-tuned to such a degree that moving even one of them in either direction, positive or negative, a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a percentage would make the existence of life anywhere in the universe impossible. Okay, that's the important point to grasp. That is to say that if you took one of these characteristics, whatever it is, say the strong nuclear force constant, and you move that thing a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a percentage one way or the other, it's not just that life wouldn't happen here on Earth, but that life couldn't happen anywhere in the universe. Okay? Now, this is what is called the anthropic principle. Here you go. This is from George Greenstein, The Symbiotic Universe, Life and the Mind in the Cosmos, page 26 and 27. This is a cosmologist, a reputed cosmologist, putting it in his own language. He said this: as we survey all the evidence, he's talking, of course, about all the evidence of cosmology, the thought insistently arises that some supernatural agency, or rather capital agency, capital A agency, must be involved. Is it possible, and he's talking now about modern scientific discoveries, not the least of which, by the way, is the discoveries associated with the Hubble telescope, namely that the universe is dynamic and finite. Is it possible that suddenly, without intending to, we have stumbled upon scientific proof of the existence of a supreme being? Was it God who stepped in and so providentially crafted the cosmos for our benefit? Now, I just read something very interesting. There was an atheist, there was a Christian man who was coming to town and he was wanting to debate the issue of God's existence, and particularly the case for evolution, atheistic, methodological, naturalism, evolution. And there was a bulletin sent out to the various departments of the university looking for an atheist to come and debate this Christian. So it was sent out to the biology department and to the anthropology department and to the cosmology department. Well, allegedly a fax was sent back from the cosmology department that said, in essence, there are no atheists in this department. You'll have to look elsewhere. The reason for that is that modern cosmology is demonstrating, I believe convincingly, that God does in fact exist. In fact, there was a cover of Newsweek magazine, I don't even know, maybe 7 years ago or 8 years ago, right on the cusp of some of these most exciting discoveries. And the actual cover of the magazine said, it's like looking at the face of God. And this was from some renowned cosmologist.